And for more on this, we're pleased to be joined via Skype from Holland, Michigan by the former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Pete Hoekstra. Pete, now a Shillman Senior Fellow for the Investigative Project on Terrorism. He is also the author of the book, Architects of Disaster, The Destruction of Libya. Pete, as always, we appreciate your time tonight on Newsmax Prime. Now, you heard that British attorney say he's elated with this good news. This isn't good news, is it?
Well, it's good news for him. It's his client. It's bad news for anybody else that is concerned about the threat from ISIS and radical jihadists. These are deadly people. These are the worst of the worst. President Obama has now basically set them free. And what we've seen is that somewhere around, 20–25% of these people that we know of, and that's the key caveat, that we know of, have gone back to the battlefield. There's others that have made their way back to the battlefield that we probably will never discern that they've gone back to the battlefield. But no, this is bad news, and this is the president trying to keep a campaign promise rather than trying to win a war.
Well, our old colleague on Capitol Hill, Ed Royce of California, now the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee in the House, issued this statement. I'm quoting from it now. In its race to close Gitmo, the Obama administration is doubling down on policies that put American lives at risk. Once again, hardened terrorists are being released to foreign countries where they will be a threat. Too many have already died at the hands of former detainees. I fear we will be dealing with the consequences of this recklessness for years to come. It is tough to quibble with what Chairman Royce has to say, isn't it, Pete?
I don't quibble with that at all. Chairman Royce is crystal clear, and I believe exactly accurate. We will live with this decision for a long period of time. President Obama will not.
Donald Trump is scheduled to receive his first intelligence briefing tomorrow. You may recall in a recent interview, Senator Harry Reid said our intelligence people should just give Donald Trump fake information. Let's watch and listen again, and then I'll ask for your reaction.
As a Republican nominee, isn't he entitled to get those briefings?
Give him fake briefings.
What does that even mean?
It means they'll tell him stuff. He won't know the difference.
You're basically telling the intelligence community to lie to him.
No, I'm not going to lie to you, but I just don't have to tell you everything.
I know that Harry is retiring back to Nevada. Is he working up a lounge act? What is the deal with that?
It's totally outrageous. No, you have to prepare both of the presidential candidates to be prepared on January 20th at noon to take office over the office of the presidency. What Harry Reid may be referring to is that under the Obama administration, as we saw last week, it appears that CENTCOM, the intelligence folks at CENTCOM, were actually pressured to cook the intelligence to make it look better than what it actually was, so that Obama could go out and claim victory and progress and success against ISIS. So maybe that's what Harry Reid was talking about. But in terms of briefing Donald Trump, there's only one criteria. Give him the best intelligence that you can. Give it all to him.
Undoubtedly, one of the subjects that will come up in tomorrow's briefing concerns Russian aircraft going on a mission against ISIS, but flying out of an airfield in Iran. Now, today, the State Department spokesman Mark Toner says that action by Russia did not come out of left field. Let's listen.
It's unfortunate, but not surprising or unexpected. It speaks to the continuation of a pattern that we've seen of Russia continuing to carry out airstrikes, and now it appears with Iran's direct assistance.
Okay, so Pete, I don't have the scorecard in front of me, and maybe you can untangle it for me, but here's the deal. It seems like, you remember back when we were growing up in the 70s, and you had the Nixon-Kissinger detente, where President Nixon would play the Soviet Union off against the Chinese? It seems to me almost as if Vladimir Putin is playing off our two major parties in the United States against each other. Donald Trump says something nice yesterday, whoom, there are the Russians flying out of Iran for a mission against ISIS. Help me understand this.
Well, I think the way to understand this is President Putin recognizes he has about 4 or 5 months to deal with President Obama. So whether it's the Crimea, whether it's Ukraine, whether it's Egypt, whether it's the Kurds in Iraq, whether it's Iran, or whether it's Syria, he's going to exert his influence and his reach for Russia as far as he can for the next 5 months, because he realizes when that's over, we're going to have a strong president in the White House that will actually respond to all of his provocative activities. This president has done absolutely nothing to rein in the Russian bear.
Well, let's go to the telephones because calls are coming in concerning both Gitmo and the Russians and that airstrike. First, on the subject of Gitmo, calling in at 1-877-Newsmax. From Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, we have Rick. Rick, welcome to Newsmax Prime.
Hi, how are you?
Fine, sir.
One of my questions was not only with the release of the Gizmo prisoners, but also the $400 million that was sent over there. When does it become treasonous for a president to continue this type of action?
Yeah, this is a question that a lot of people have, Pete, because it does seem to be, especially with Gitmo, letting these people go, a gut response is, wait, aren't we giving aid and comfort to our own enemies?
Absolutely. You're giving aid and comfort to our enemies, both the ones that we hold and the ones that we are fighting, because it's kind of like they're serious. We're not serious about winning. Giving $400 million to the Iranians, money that is finding its way to Hezbollah, it's finding its way to Hamas, people again that are committed to the destruction of the United States and our ally in Israel. These are foolhardy decisions. Some may call it treason. I just think this president believes that the problems in the Middle East, in Northern Africa, are the result of American behavior, and if we behave differently, they will change their behavior. What we've seen for 7.5 years, each and every time the president reaches out to them, they grab it and they take everything they can. Some may call me naive, whatever. That's the best face you can put on it. The worst face you can put on it is treason. It's probably somewhere in between.
And the whole notion that we criminalize political differences, but suffice it to say, this president has been called accurately, I believe, our first post-American president. And isn't that a sad statement? Want to circle back to the Russian situation. Of course, you had the guys at the State Department offering their usual not so illuminating briefing from Foggy Bottom. But meantime, from Baghdad, Colonel Chris Carver spoke during a Defense Department briefing. He said the Russians actually notified U.S. military forces on the ground about their airstrike from Iran, and no coalition operations were compromised. Here's the colonel.
They did not impact coalition operations in either Iraq or Syria during the time. And as I said, I'm not going to talk about the specifics of their operations. You can ask them about that. But we did know in time, as per the requirement in the Safety of Flight Memorandum of Agreement, and we were able to maintain that safety of flight during the entire incident.
So it wasn't quite Mother May I, but in terms of relationships between nation states, the Russians at least informed us of what they were going to do, even though they were using an Iranian air base. 30 seconds for the last word, Pete.
They informed us, and they knew that we would do nothing about it. The next president is going to have a huge mess to clean up, whether it's the Russian relationships, whether it's ISIS, whether it's 100,000 Iranian troops in Iraq, other relations in Northern Africa. The next president's got his work cut out for him.
And Pete Hoekstra, we appreciate you trying to shed some light on these two troubling stories overseas tonight. Thanks for checking in via Skype this evening from Holland, Michigan. Now, when we come back, all things political, a traditional debate, right versus left, Niger Innes versus Ellis Henican on stories of interest in the news today, right after this timeout.